This is Marion Henry, and I'm the Program Manager of the Better Business Bureau in Manitoba, Northwest Ontario. On behalf of your BBB, I'd like to welcome you to our BBB Affinity webinar this morning. We're so pleased to have One Life Workplace Safety and Health Limited hosting this event today, and we have Theo Heinemann with us this morning. Theo has over 20 years experience as a business owner and entrepreneur with over 15 years of safety management related experience, working both locally and internationally as a consultant and a trainer. She also has 10 years experience working as a paramedic, witnessing firsthand the acute effects of workplace injuries and illness. Theo is board certified Canadian registered safety professional and a certified safety and health consultant with the Canadian Society of Safety Engineers. Her experience includes auditing as a Lloyd's Register auditor in the International Maritime Organization and providing external COR audits for the Manitoba Heavy Construction Association. Theo is a requested presenter at local and national conferences and has served as an instructor for the Red Rivers College's Occupational Safety and Health Certification Program. In 2011, Theo was Manitoba's Woman Entrepreneur of the Year, and in 2015 was one of the 3 finalists for the Canadian Safety Leader of the Year. So welcome, Theo. Before we get started, I do have a few housekeeping items I'd like to cover. As you heard when we started the webinar, all attendees are in listen-only mode. We do have a question functionality in this webinar. It's located on your dashboard on the right-hand side of your screen. You can add any questions that you may have, and we'll have Theo answer these at the conclusion of the presentation. We do have 2 handouts for you, one regarding the affinity offer that One Life has offered to our BBB accredited businesses, as well as an overview of our affinity program. The presentation today is planned to be about 25 minutes, after which we will handle questions from the attendees, as I mentioned. This webinar is also being recorded and will be posted on our BBB YouTube page following the webinar for reference or for anyone that's unable to join us today. So with that, I'll hand you over to Theo to get started. Theo?
Thank you so much, Marion. Thank you for the BBB to afford this opportunity for us to have a conversation this morning. And thank you for those of you that are attending. And it's my absolute intention to make this time worth your while. So I see that on the webinar this morning, we have businesses that have credible risks, roofers, etc., work at heights. Not sure what all of you do, but there is some credible risk there. And for all of us that are employers, hiring employees, we have to be able to manage workplace safety in a way that makes sense for our business as well as our workers that we have stewardship for and be in compliance. So I'll talk a little bit about the situation in Manitoba. So this is a report card from last year. In Manitoba, there was over almost 27,000 injury claims. Of those, 2,500 were serious injuries. So when you look at that, over 200 workers in Manitoba are being seriously injured every month. So how many of you think that's too many? You know, we might not think that's a big deal till it's our brother, it's our father, it's our son or daughter or mother. But you think about that, the impact. And so last year there was 23 fatalities, and it might be informative to know that the #1 cause of workplace fatality last year was motor vehicle accidents, so driving, and perhaps defensive driving is something that we need to be looking at. There was over $360,000 levied in fines to Manitoba employers. So the Workplace Safety and Health Act is the minimum standard for safe work. It's not something we do if we want to or don't want to. It is the law. And failing to abide by those standards, there's penalties for it. So please don't shoot the messenger. My goal is to have you aware so that you can make good risk decisions for your business. There's also 21 administrative penalties handed out. So you may or may not be aware that the province has the ability to be able to issue fines on the spot for high risk work where you're not in compliance with workplace safety requirements, such as working at heights, excavations, asbestos, things like that. So in my experience working with hundreds of businesses, after the accident happened, so we call it an accident in quotation marks because really there are very few accidents. Most of them are preventable. But after that accident happens, many times it's to an organization that they've gone years without a serious issue, and there's this shock and surprise, and people are astounded, and there's finger pointing, and why did this happen? And oftentimes it's must be the bad apple in the group. It must be Joe who won't follow procedures, or it must be Tommy who or just is a bad actor, or Karen who won't follow her procedures, right? I see that all the time where it's the fault of the worker. And so I am an entrepreneur. I'm not a regulator. I am an entrepreneur. I have to run my own business as well. I have my own employees and my own employee challenges. We work with employers all the time, so please keep that in mind as I share with you what I'm about to share with you. So what I found in my experience working with hundreds of businesses is that, and a principle from a very famous management guru, Peter Drucker, applies, and that is only 15% of a company's problems can be controlled by individual employees, while 85% can be controlled only by a management system. So how much does our perspective change if we decide to not point the finger at the worker and the unsafe behavior, quote unquote, and we step back as an owner or a manager and say, I wonder what this means, right? What if it's true that 85%, there's an 85% chance this is a management system issue, right? So whether my WCB is, I'm paying too much for WCB, or whether you're just trying to be proactive and prevent a serious loss going forward, I would really strongly encourage you to consider this principle. So what is a safety management system? So first of all, it has to start with management leadership and employee involvement. And so those of you that are on the webinar today, 5 gold stars for you. I can see most all of you are owners or senior managers. So good for you for taking the time. So it tells me that you've got commitment there. You have an interest in safety management. The next thing is you must have is employee involvement. So that's just a change management principle. There is wisdom in the workplace safety regulation that says by law you must involve your workers. Yes, that's important because they know the work best. They can give good insight into risks and the management of those risks. But more importantly, it's because of the change management, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. So safety management system. So what do you do? It's very, very simple. It's not complicated. For you to be able to rest your head on the pillow at night and know with a strong, high probability that you won't have a serious incident, and if you did, you've done what you can to prevent it. This is the recipe. So number 1, be committed. You're here, you're committed. Number 2, set clear standards for your company, but spend your time where 20% of your effort will get 80% of your result. How many of you want that? It really pains me to see companies spending time and money and effort and on things that really aren't netting them the greatest return when it comes to their credible risk management. So when you look at the province's Safe Work website, you look at the prosecutions, the serious incidents, the administrative penalties, that's a good indicator of how companies are experiencing serious loss. And when you look at those losses, there's a trend there. There's not this huge scope of basic causes. This is, I call it the critical 7, the deadly 7. When we work with any organization that has credible risk, we always go through the work that they do and make sure that these items, if they're doing anything that appears on this list, we make sure we've set clear standards for how that work is to be performed. And then keep in mind, every organization will, there's a couple that you won't have likely, and there's a couple others you might need to add. So for example, a company in the social services or healthcare sector might need to add violence and harassment. If you're in the manufacturing sector, you might need to add musculoskeletal risks. Those can certainly send up your WCB costs and have employees away from work and their quality of life diminish greatly. So know what your critical tasks are and give yourself permission until you get these established. Give yourself permission to not be spending your efforts on all the other minor items. Okay, so set clear standards in writing for your company that make sense for your business. Secondly, train people on those standards. So I can completely appreciate that we're all tasked for having enough time in our businesses, but we have to take the time to train people on the standard. And we also work under a premise that I've seen over and over, and then I just know in my gut to be true, and that is that force creates resistance when we're working with our teams and we're working with our employees. So said another way, think about Newton's third law. So from high school physics, this is natural law. For every force, there's an equal and opposite force. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So you force somebody to wear the safety glasses, you force them to wear their heart, you force them. That doesn't work so well. First of all, we have to, take the time to educate them, drop them into their heart. Okay, the reason why you will be requiring fall protection on the roof is because I am not phoning your family that you've fallen and broken your back. Or another way you can do it is you have to wear safety glasses. Here's 3 different kinds. Pick the one you like the best. If you try to force, I promise you, you will get resistance for sure. So you need to involve your workers in the process, help them feel like they're having some control over what's happening to them. Okay, so set clear standards that make sense for your business based on your highest, most credible risk. Secondly, train people on those standards so that it makes sense for them and they understand that you care about them. They'll stay with you longer, they'll work harder, you'll have less turnover, more effort, more creativity. I promise you it will pay you dividends. And then the last one is to hold people accountable to the standard. So when people come to me, owners, managers come to me and say, Theo, workplace safety, it's tough. I can't get my guys to comply. Guys don't want to do this safe behavior. This is hard. We've been working at it for 3 years. I say it's simple. It's very simple. Set clear standards, train those standards, hold people accountable to the standards. Where do you need to spend some attention? And they'll tell me, okay, well, our standards are clear, or we haven't trained our people, or, we're afraid to hold people accountable because we're afraid they're going to quit. And it's always up to you folks. You'll decide how you want to run your business, but if we fail to do these things, we are absolutely setting ourselves up to have problems and for the safety system to be difficult. Doing these things in this way makes it pretty simple and streamlined. So what we do at One Life, we take that philosophy of trying to support small, medium-sized businesses to be able to set standards, train workers on those standards and enforce those standards, but it's problematic, right? So who has the time to be writing all those standards? How difficult is it to firstly source the training, pay the training costs, pay the wages for your worker, absorb the lost productivity time? I'm sure I'm resonating with you. It's very challenging. And then enforcing sometimes is not a lot of fun either, because there is the risk that you're going to lose good people, but there's less risk you're going to lose people if the standards are clear and they're trained properly. Then there's less likelihood that you have to do that enforcement because everybody gets on the same track. So this webinar today was about making your workplace safety simpler and easier on your smartphone. So I want to show you how we can help you do that. So One Life has been in business since about 2009. We launched our first piece of software for small business in 2010, and we have been on that journey of listening to the feedback of small, medium-sized business owners and creating the tools that you're telling us that you would find helpful. So one of them I'm going to share with you today is something called My Safety app, and it's a mobile application that will help you easily and more simply achieve compliance with safety standards. It will help force the responsibility and accountability in your organization. It's going to help you and your supervisors and your team identify and communicate hazards. It's going to make compliance easier for your people. So a lot of times workers don't do the safe behavior, the inspection of the forklift, the hazard assessment before they climb on the roof, because it takes time, because of the paperwork. They didn't take a job to do, an hour of paperwork every day. They want to get to work. Having them have access to your company's safety procedures information on their smartphone allowing you guys to all manage your time so you're not sorting through and chasing paperwork, and of course having us be better stewards of the environment. So I'm just going to flip out here of this presentation and pull up a little tool that helps me do a demo of the mobile application. And I'm just going to check and see if we have any questions coming so far. So there's no questions so far. Okay, so this is called My Safety App. And just got to log in here. So this is all built on a web portal. You have a web portal that goes with this, and this is how you would design your own forms that are specific to your business, or you use our templates. This is where you would take all of your policies and procedures and push them over to the mobile device. For this morning, to keep us on time, I'm just going to do a little review of what you can do on your smartphone. So if you're trying to be in compliance with CORE, you're working under a subcontractor, or pardon me, working under a prime contractor, you'll see how this is a pretty handy little tool. So obviously it would have your company's name at the top, and any of your employees can log in, and any given day they can go and have all access to all of their forms. There's a little bit of a time delay here on, there we go. They can have access to all of your forms on the mobile device. So let's say they're going to do a hazard report or a quick note hazard. You can quickly select it here. So they would just select the project that they're at. And notice, remember we said set, train, and enforce standards. So all of the red bars along the side are mandatory fields. So you can set time in and time out to be mandatory if you want. This allows you to make your forms as locked down and rigid as you want, or as kind of loose as you want. So the paperwork that you're chasing, the signatures, you can, the things they absolutely must be doing, hazards to be assessed, etc. You can create your form so that they cannot submit this unless they have completed it. So I'm just going to do maybe add a hazard. So let's say high wind. Whoops, I can actually do voice to text, it's easier. Recommend to stop work for the morning and move to a different job site. So let's say you were on the roof and it was very high wind and it didn't make sense to be working. That's kind of an extreme example. Probably wouldn't happen too often, but if there was a corrective action, let's say there was a hazard that needed to be corrected, you can actually assign it to somebody. So let's say if there's a tool damage or equipment damage or something like that, you can actually assign it to somebody. You can actually assess your probability and severity, and as you do that, as you turn the wheel, it talks to them, it tells them how to assess this risk. So for those of you that are CORE certified, you know that on your hazard assessments you are required to assess probability and severity. And then you could also add a photo to any form if there's been an incident or even a quality issue. You can add a photo to any kind of form and then you save it. So we have a hazard here and it knows that it's me in the system, so I'm going to sign it off. I'm going to save it, and now I can submit that. It's going to ask me to submit to my supervisor. So let's say Jacqueline is my supervisor. So that's how fast the paperwork gets done. You're not chasing paper, it's not blowing around the truck, it's not on somebody's desk, it's now in the app, and it's going to get synchronized to the web tool immediately. With any of these forms, what we're hearing back from our clients is, oh, well, you know what, our guys don't want to be filling forms out all the time with the same hazard assessment every day, so we allow you to duplicate a form. So there we duplicated this form. Now they can go into yesterday's hazard assessment, do their modifications, and it makes it very fast and easy for them. So you'll see that these are all the forms going on in your company at this present time. You can see which of the ones are high hazard, have medium hazard. You can see 0, 1 resolved, and you can sort and drill down by job site or by crew. So let's say I only want to see what's happening at Stradbrook Avenue, and I only want to see the stuff that's high hazard. So there's nothing, right? So let's say you have a crew there today and there's no forms, there's no inspections, there's no fall protection inspections, there's no hot work permits, whatever the case may be, there's no new subcontractor orientation. You're going to be able to phone up your supervisor and say, hey, what the heck's going on? Nothing's happening. So I'm just going to reset this filter. So these forms can be built any way that you want to build them. So for example, this is a vehicle inspection. You'll see there's the red bars at the side indicate the mandatory fields. There's check boxes. There's the touch boxes. You can design it as yes, no answers. So we have a whole bunch of templates. We have approximately 100 templates that are already developed for you: fall protection inspection, forklift inspection, or new worker orientation, first aid checklist, fire extinguisher, hazard assessment, the CSAM hit list. A lot of the forms have already been built for you, but if you want to custom build your own exactly for your company, you can do that. I'm just going to delete this form. So you'll see in this case, there's been companies that also use this to do the work orders online. Anything that you can create a form for that you're doing paperwork now, of course we're focusing on safety, but you can create any sort of document on the mobile app if you want. The other thing that you have here with forms, pardon me, I should be a little more clear here. So on any of these forms, you can print right off the mobile device, or you can take ownership. So if a person leaves your company, and you want to take ownership of a document that they've started, or it's a very serious issue, you can take ownership of that document. You can also print or email any of your documents straight off the device. With the mobile app, you can also have your whole safety manual on your mobile phones. So again, those of you who are course certified or have you're trying to be in compliance and have a safety program, and you have job sites. Right now you're probably carrying binders in your truck, binders of MSDS, safe work procedures, all of that stuff. So that all can be digital now and all on your phones. So I'm just going to turn this sideways to get a better view. So if we wanted to, for example, have the health and safety regulation, which we're supposed to have available to workers, this is 362 pages. You can see how fast that loaded, and all of the legislation is available on the mobile devices. If you want to be training your people in your safe work practices, you could simply pull up the safe work practice, review it with a new worker, or review with a worker who's not demonstrating the safe work you want to see, and you simply pull up the sign-off box, pick your project, have the people sign off. So obviously maybe I'm the supervisor signing it, but your people would find their name. So let's say Tim was on site with you, he would sign his name and save it. Let's say you had a subcontractor. So let's say you had an incident, and there's a person of the public you want to sign on an incident report. So that's how fast you can add somebody. Now they can sign their name, and we can submit this, and it's saying, oh, you didn't select the project. So it's making me fill in the required information. Now I can submit this. Again, now this has gone to your web application, no paperwork. You can see in real time, live time, that this has been done. If you want to email this off to any of your prime contractors or print it for them, you can just simply, if the prime contractor wants to see some piece of documentation, simply email it right off to them. None of this going back to the office to scan it and fax it or email it or whatever. Okay, and the other piece that this does, it does a number of things, but I want to honor our time here. So if you're using the contractor management system that we offer, You can actually track all of your subcontractors and those that are approved, and you can actually see their safety documentation on your smartphones. So you can see their safe work procedures, their training records, etc. Lastly is you have access to all of your employees on your smartphone as well as all of their training. So oftentimes a lot of people want to know, is someone on my work area, work crew been sent to me? Do they have the training that they need? So Erin, for example, I can see the training attached to her. I can look at her training certificates. I can print it and email it off to a prime contractor or a workplace safety officer who wants to know. Or I can just search. I want to know everybody on my job site that has first aid training, for example. So there it is. And you can pull up each person and look at their training certificates right on your mobile devices. So that's a little bit of an overview of the mobile application. There's lots more to show you, but that sort of wets your whistle a little bit, if it were, about how we are supporting companies from their smartphones to make workplace safety simpler and easier. Just a minute here. Technology is great, but sometimes so just bear with me here. So I hope you can see with a tool such as this, we are really wanting, our deepest desire is to really listen to what our clients are telling us is going to make this workplace safety compliance issue easier for them. We filter that information through our safety professionals, who then collaborate with the software programmers to develop software that's practical for small business. So we are not interested in developing software for big business. One Life is just in a transition period from going to a local consulting company. We're transitioning out of that model to a national provider of safety software, specifically for small and medium-sized business. So I know all of the businesses that I talk to, it seems none of us have enough time, right? And so if you think about the amount of documentation paperwork that's required for due diligence and to be in compliance, if you could digitize that and leverage a mobile application, how many office hours might you save? Safety coordinator hours, the photocopying, the scanning, chasing paper, searching for misplaced documents. So the business case is pretty significant. So my safety app, there are other offers that One Life does offer through the Better Business Bureau. For today, we're talking specifically about my safety app. All the BBB members would save 10% off the app. So please feel free after the webinar to get in touch with us. We're almost done here. Just lastly, why do we do what we do? So our passion is about providing employers peace of mind. We want you to be able to protect your people and not have to fear you're going to have to make a nasty phone call to someone's family. We want you to be able to have freedom to operate and protect your business. You probably all know somebody who's had a stop work order, or who's had a serious incident, or who's had to pay, extra tens of thousands of dollars for WCB. It's painful, it's avoidable, so we want to help you. And finally, reverence for life. So remember who you are. So sometimes I think as business owners, we believe it's either or. We can't both honor our people and have a very profitable company. And I know that you can. I know that we can have both. Having a profitable company at the expense of worker safety and well-being is not a profitable company, because there's more currencies in life than money. I strongly believe we can both honor our people and have a profitable company, and that's what we want to do. So at this time, I'll take any questions, and Marion, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Theo. It doesn't look like we have any questions right now. If anybody does have any questions, please feel free to put them in the question bar just on the right-hand side of your screen under questions. I'll just remind you again that we have taped today's webinar, so if there's some things you want to go back and review, or if there's somebody else in your company that you'd like them to have a look at this, it will be available in a couple of days on, or possibly even later today, on our BBB YouTube page. There are two handouts, again, I'll just mention. So on the right-hand side of your screen, it does say handouts. There are two there, one regarding the One Life Marketing Affinity offers that they have, as well as an overview of our Affinity program. You can just download those if you're interested. And just a reminder of our next webinar in their Affinity series that will be held on Thursday, April 27th. This webinar will be hosted by Corey Huckluck of Maximum Wealth. Maximum Wealth Strategies offers many different strategies to small and medium-sized businesses and business owners that will eliminate, reduce, or defer taxes and fees paid. By partnering with QuickCard, a third-party administrator for health and dental benefits, they're able to offer significant cash savings year after year on employment benefit plans. Paired with other insurance products, QuickCard can offer great employee benefit packages, especially for small to mid-sized businesses. They have a team of experts to help meet with your businesses and see what your needs are, and not only to help you save money, but to help expand your operation. So be sure and watch for that registration link a little bit later in April. So it doesn't look like we have, oh, maybe we do have a question. So we do have a question from April asking, what is the cost of the mobile app?
So the basic cost
user?
is, yeah, so the basic cost is $9.99 per user per month. That's the highest cost, and it goes down from there based on volume. So if you have like 50 workers or more, obviously the more people you have, there is some price breaks. Yeah. And I just wanted to mention that every member, every BBB member, we offer a free consultation with a safety professional. If you want to assess your workplace safety liability risks, compliance with workplace safety requirements, please feel free to call and book a session with one of the safety professionals. They'll be glad to meet with you. And there's no charge.
Excellent. Any other questions that we can answer? Okay, well, we do have on the screen there Theo's contact information, so if you do have any other questions or would prefer to ask your questions offline, feel free to get in touch with Theo. And with that, thank you very much, Theo, for your time. Thank you to everyone for joining us this morning on the webinar. I think it was a great topic, and we got some great information. And I guess we'll be done for today.
Well, and the reason why I put the building picture on is so you know the place. We're a friendly company. Stop in and see us anytime.
Excellent.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, and wishing you all a safe spring and summer.
Thank you.